Hit that like, hit that subscribe.
Let's go.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah! What the fuck are you talking about?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Satsuti, along with the Darkwing Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Mr. Rob Povia.
That's what I said, booty trap.
And we welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition here of the Hockey Happy Hour. And today we are going to go into the expansion draft, and obviously we'll talk about what the Flyers are going to do here. We'll go down the roster, we'll take a look and see who they most likely protect, who they do not protect, and at the same time also talk about the Jake Voracek situation and the Seth Jones saga that continues to permeate through the rumor mill, as well as some big things that have just broke, a trade that happened between Colorado and New Jersey, and as well as several other major happenings around the league. And if we got time, we'll be giving you guys our first round of movie quote trivia, where we basically challenge each other to name a movie after we say a quote from it. That's if we got the time. There's a lot to talk about here today. But
if we don't, I already got one in on the beginning. So tell us where the movie that from.
I couldn't tell you. I'll tell you what. As good as I am with movie quotes, I'm terrible at them at the same time. I'll sit there and I'll be like, I can throw them out there all day, but if you tell me the quote, more than likely I got to sit there and be like, what is going on? It's just bad. My brain doesn't work that way.
I'm not saying that mine's any better, man.
All good. It's all good, man. It's all good.
It's for the fam to chime in. They're going to get the answer well before us. But anyway, let's get to the hockey, man. A lot of doings going on right now.
Absolutely. Before we do, though, we are brought to you by Body Check Wellness, which is a line of product that uses hemp. And as you see down here at the bottom of the screen, you can get 20% off with the A2D promo code. And when Riley Cote, who founded Body Check Wellness, is on with us, you can get 40% off with that A2D code. They've got THC-free products, and of course, they've got the hemp products. Basically, what they're used for is to have focus and clarity and balance in your life to make it easier for you to basically have that go up and go get it mentality and kind of help center you. Because every once in a while, with everything going around in life, sometimes it's hard to just get focused on the here and now. It can happen to anybody. So that's what the products are meant for. And it's topicals, gummies, ointments, edibles, you name it, they have it. Great for you. Rob can tell you.
It gets to the focus and clarity from a Body Check Wellness has really gotten my life together, like both dietary wise as well as keeping sharp, keeping focused, being able to multitask. There's so many different products. That's only the one I have exposure with, but go check them out, bodycheckwellness.com.
Absolutely. And we have our poll question, which is brought to you by Manscaped. You can get 20% off of a free shipping at manscaped.com and unlock your confidence with the right tools. Because listen, man, ladies love a guy with confidence, and these are the tools to get the job done for it.
All right, come on, boys. Clean it up. Just get rid of that drunk funk. Do it for your lady.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's go.
All right. So the poll question for tonight is: the Philadelphia Flyers should leave Nolan Patrick unprotected. Now, obviously, there has been
I got you, Rob. Sorry, Maddie. Sorry. I got the I know exactly. Yep. I know what movie that is now that I actually read it.
Oh,
go ahead, Maddie.
So, Nolan Patrick, a guy who has had a lot going around, crazy stuff that's been happening. And he said that he doesn't want to play in Philadelphia anymore. And the Flyers have the opportunity to leave him unprotected as a restricted free agent and see if Seattle wants to take a bite on him as a former number 2 overall pick who hasn't exactly lived up to that potential in Philly. He's had some injuries, but ultimately, after getting back from those injuries, still hasn't exactly lived up to the potential, and he hasn't exactly had the best relationship, apparently, with the team. So there you go. On top of that as well, now we also have Jake Voracek who gets thrown into this. But in terms of just Nolan Patrick, gentlemen, agree or disagree? Should the Flyers leave him unprotected?
Nolan Patrick, yeah, you can only protect so many guys, and with his desire to not want to be here, I don't think you force him to be. I think you leave him unprotected, see if he gets taken or not, and if he doesn't get taken, you try and trade him. I think that's really the best two options, really the only two options you have, because you're not going to buy him out of a rookie deal. But if he doesn't want to be here, don't force him to be. So leave him unprotected, and if he doesn't get picked, trade him. Somebody will take him.
Yeah, no, I could see him being left unprotected, and I haven't been the guy that's gotten his corner much this season just because of the lack of heart that I saw from him. I mean, I know bowing back from migraine issue is tough, but physically he was up to snuff, and there was just times where I seen him quit on this team. So my gut wants to say, leave him unprotected, but I don't think it's even going to go there. I think you're going to actually see him orchestrated in a trade. I know right now it came out that Tarasenko listed the Flyers as one of the teams that he would be willing to waive his no-trade clause to be traded to. Now, I know they're looking more for, say, like a Morgan Frost, maybe a Philip Myers. Those have been two names that have been tied to it. That would be a way that I think you could shed him, because I don't think, leaving him unprotected, is going to keep you from, you want to expose the veterans. You want to expose Voracek. You want to expose James Van Riemsdyk. Maybe, obviously the name out there is Shane Gosper being left exposed. And that's one of those three is who Seattle's going to realistically take. Do you think Seattle's going to waive over all of them to go for Nolan Patrick, an unproven player that hasn't done squadus since being a number 2 overall pick? I don't think so. So I think the value there is in trade. I could be wrong.
No, dude, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. If Prince is right, I want to just give a birthday shout out to Bryce. I know I saw him in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here. Happy birthday, Bryce. But yeah, jumping back, to your point, there's not really much of a expansion pick value for him. You can go with the Jake Voracek, who, has expressed interest in wanting to go to Seattle. You have a JVR. You're going to free up cap space if either one of these guys winds up getting picked, that you can use it out in the free agency. And there's some intriguing names out there. No huge snipers, but intriguing names that could fit in the role plays, and maybe use somebody else as a trade piece and kind of use them to plug and play. But for Nolan Patrick, I think his value is going to be in the trade market, not in the expansion draft.
I think so. At least, try to squeeze them in on that deal, try to make them back off of, say, a Morgan Frost. It's going to take some eggs to get Tarasenko. I get it, but maybe that could help sweeten the pot the other way.
Yeah, if we want to touch on Tarasenko real quick, I think he's an amazing talent. I think he's got a tremendous upside, but the dude's always hurt.
True.
Always hurt. That's the only thing that I don't like about Vladimir Tarasenko. Otherwise, guy's a stud. He's a good player. Just can't stay on the ice.
Jesse Javis. What's up, Jesse? Saying, please, God, no Tarasenko. I'm going to assume that's because of his injury problems. Came on saying, yeah, if he doesn't want to be in Philly, then yeah. And then he also went on to say, I would trade and get the most you can for him. And then he finishes that up, was always try to get the best trade.
Right, sure. And I get it, and I know the injury history. I'm with you, Jesse. I'm with you, Brian, right? But this team needs a guy that can bury the puck, and just didn't get enough of it. And even if he, I could see your point that, okay, you're going to sacrifice this much and then expect that, but you can't predict how it's going to go. To get that proven talent, that can score, I'm willing to give up some pieces. I'm not willing to give up Morgan Frost, though.
No, I absolutely get where you're coming from, Rob. Like, because I agree with you. Flyers need a guy who can bury the puck, especially on the power play.
Right.
Tarasenko could be that guy. Yeah, and Morgan Frost could do the same thing too.
Right.
But my only issue with what Tarasenko brings to the ice is, like I said, his injury history, which is a pretty lengthy list, unfortunately. He can bury the puck. He can be a huge asset to the power play. But I don't necessarily know if I want to give up any young, potentially major prospects for a guy that's you don't know how many games you're going to get out of him.
Right.
That's the only thing. Other than that, I think Tarasenko would be a really good fit here.
Sure. I mean, what if you bargain with them and you be and you point out those factors, and you'd be like, all right, we're willing to give you Nolan Patrick, maybe another younger forward, maybe Eric Desnoyers. You know what I mean? Throw him in. You know what I mean? Rather breaking off. I mean, or maybe you keep Phillip in there and you take out that extra forward and be like, that's what we're willing to give. Take it or leave it. And the Flyers can be in a position where they don't have to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Flyers are in a position really to have to go after a Tarasenko.
Right. D-man, yes.
Out there. There's going to be other options out there because we're already seeing guys being traded we didn't expect to.
Right.
So you never know.
Oh, right then. And we also had Eileen who said, I agree to the poll. Eileen. And Jesse also said, yeah, but Patrick and Jake need to go. And that flies into the situation going on with Jake Voracek. So we might as well talk about that. Jake Voracek, in recent news, that it appears that both him and the Flyers are ready to part ways. Jake doesn't want to stay in Philly, and the Flyers are open to getting rid of him. So it's one of those things where it seems like they want to split amicably, which is fine. I'm all for that, but the problem is, what the fuck are we going to do with that contract? I mean, the question is, do you bite the bullet and eat most of his contract just to get rid of him? Then what does that serve? It's kind of like, yeah, but now you still retain that contract. You didn't clear any cap space. So it's like you got nothing out of that deal. Yeah, maybe you got a player or two. Hopefully you can afford them. It's one of those things where you really have to clear the contract out no matter what. You can't just eat some of it and then move him. You have to move him, period. That's as simple as that with the contract.
No, agreed. I mean, include on a deal that we're talking about. We talked about targeting defensemen too. Maybe try to see if they get a taker for Voracek. That is assuming that Seattle doesn't. What up, Wills? That is, if Seattle doesn't, select Jake Voracek, which could be a possibility. As they're trying to build up their salary cap. Also, as we saw way back in the first expansion draft when San Jose selected, not the very first one, but the very first one of recent for the Flyers, where they let the protect players, where Timmy Kerr went to San Jose and then was flipped around and turned and traded to the Rangers. Maybe something of that ilk or what have you. But you're right. You don't want to see where you're taking on some of his contract in the deal, and you certainly don't want to have to be forced into a buyout situation like we'll get into with the Minnesota Wild later on the show, to where now you're not only do you have the flat cap, but then you're further hamstrung by that bought out contract.
Yep. Appreciate it, Wells. Yeah, heading down to North Carolina for at least the next 15 months. So we'll see how that goes. Be just outside of Raleigh, so I'm not going to miss my hockey boys.
Got a couple of Hurricanes games. I was gonna lead off with the show. I didn't know if you wanted to, I want to spread around your business.
Nah, man, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, most of the guys know anyway. Fans know. It's all good. Yeah, I mean, I want to get to David Harris's question here. He's got a couple of them.
Cool. This one?
He's got one before that too. I want to get to that one first.
Oh, okay, I see.
He wants to know if we think they're going to get rid of Gene Ghost. I think one of those names go.
I think I think Ghost would be more the one that could go. I mean, G, at the end of the day, it depends on whether he wants to win a cup or he wants to stay in Philly. And I say that because right now we still have a few things we need to put in place for the Flyers before they're more consistent. We already know what those are. We've been talking about it all season. And Chuck Fletcher says changes are coming. So, and it is a big offseason for him to prove himself as the GM. But when it comes to G, you know, if he wants to stick around in Philly, which I think he would want to, knowing his loyalty to the Flyers throughout his career. But if he wants to feel like he's got a guaranteed cup, he may want to take a look and see if there are other options out there. Not to say the Flyers can't win a cup. They still have the foundations in place to do so. It's that, okay, do you want to go with a team that's going to be the cup contender next year and is going to be a perennial contender moving forward, or a team that's still working their way towards being a consistent cup contender? It's, you know, you weigh your options there if you're Giroux, because the Flyers will offer him a deal. It just won't be the kind of deal that we offered him in the previous. It'll be a much more, I guess you would call it twilight career deal, where it's not heavy money, but it's one of those where maybe it's a 1-2 year contract. It's nothing massive at this point in his career, maybe 3. Yeah.
I mean, G's only got another 2 years left on his contract anyway. I don't think he's getting bought out. He's expressed his interest in staying here. He's got a full no movement clause.
For now,
he's going to be protected. G's not going anywhere. G's not going anywhere. Ghost, that's a whole nother story. I think Ghost might be gone. I think you see him in a separate trade that may bring in a forward. Maybe not. I mean, we'll see what's going on. And Don, shut up. Say his show sucks.
Bring it. Bring it. There's a spot for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're
right.
You got that. Yeah, you got that little. Don, you got that little symbol next to you. So, I mean, and in case you are wondering what that little symbol means, that means that Don is an A2D member, which gets you some benefits, by the way. Benefits such as these. You can get appearances on shows, like we mentioned with Don, as he is, of course, invited. And also members-only streams, shout-outs, weekly sports picks from the Money Pot podcast, which is great because those guys absolutely know what they're talking about, and that'll get you some money, some extra cash, not just from the day job, but also from placing a few bets here and there, feeling like you know what you're talking about.
You need that extra cash. Don, yeah. Hope you're doing well, brother. Yeah, Priz, going down to fit for 15 months at least. Just kind of something that just kind of happened suddenly. Just need to change. Need to shake some things up. What's up, Pete?
What's up, Pete?
Work opportunity, bro?
Not really. Just kind of a whim thing.
Cool.
It's kind of a whim thing. That's really all it is. Like I said, I just need to shake some things up. See how things go.
Prism saying that Don would come in with the Stone Cold Steve Austin energy.
He probably would too. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Oh, and let's see here. Prism stating, I'm going for Sutter, Ekholm, Jones, Hamilton, Yandel, Dumba, and hopefully get 2 of them. I'd still look at Tarasenko under the right price or any Anthony Duclair type.
Well, so Duclair signs a 3-year, $9 million extension with the Florida Panthers, so you can still probably find his type, but Anthony Duclair has shown in the last couple of years that he could be a really good player, but he is officially off the market. Seth Jones, we talked about in our group. Seth Jones, and we could talk about this a little bit more a little later on, but the Seth Jones saga with the Philadelphia Flyers is officially done.
Yeah.
Good. I want him anyway.
And here we see so now let's talk about some of these players on the list here that we got from Prism. We've got Sutter, who was bought out along with Zach Parise. Now, it's actually funny to mention this, but apparently when the Wild were contacting both men to let them know they were being bought out of their very massive contracts, Parise picked up the phone and was very polite about it. It's like, I understand, you know, it is what it is. Sutter did not answer. Sutter either hit the FU button or they just could not get in contact with him. So Sutter's like, fuck you. It's kind of funny to see that. It's like, it's not my fault you went to shit, dude, on your fucking big ass deal. I mean, hey, congrats, you're getting your money nonetheless, but still, though.
Well, I don't think he necessarily went to shit. Sutter's always been that consistent player. He's just getting older, and they're going in a whole nother direction. But I mean, Ryan, the more ironic, the funnier thing I think is the fact that they signed their contract on the same day to the same exact contract, and they got bought out together on the same day from that same exact contract.
Bosom buddies.
That's the part that really gets me laughing. Is like, well, they went to Minnesota together, now they're out of Minnesota together. I'm not gonna.
Chris got some of that good shit tonight.
I don't think
These
I'm gonna be
comments
in
are
that part
fire.
of North Carolina. I thought the Dueling Bandages was Alabama. Anyway, whatever.
But I mean, in terms of the Flyers aspect of that, talking about a guy that is familiar with Sutter and wasn't there, to give him the axe, is now with the Flyers. His ex-GM, Chuck Fletcher, might not be a guy that you bring in on the cheap that can provide some veteran leadership and be a bottom six guy. You know what I mean? Bottom pairing guy. So you have to see how it goes.
I think he'd be a great addition because you are going to get him on the cheap. You're going to get great veteran leadership, a lot of experience with Ryan Sutter, and he plays the type of game that the Flyers are looking for in the back end that they're missing, and that's gritty, physical. He can have a little bit more of a power play presence with his slap shot. But all in all, like the reason you go after a guy like Sutter is because he's going to get paid over the next 8 years from the buyout. But he's also going to get a contract from another team, so he can sign a little bit cheaper, and he will sign a little bit cheaper. And I think he will fit in with the Flyers really well just for his style of play, and I think the fans will love him.
And I mean, Keith Yandel also fits that bill as well, but I mean, certainly he's a guy that might be on the long side of his career at this point.
I mean, Sutter too, but I mean, you don't bring in those guys to be your top pairing guys. Granted, the Flyers need one of them too, but you bring them in for their leadership, for their grit, for their physicality, because that's something that the Flyers were desperately needing last year, especially in the slot, because that's where they got butchered all season long, and poor Carter Hart took the brunt of that.
Yeah, he absolutely did. You absolutely need to have a stronger defensive presence, but you need that strong defensive leader who can help those young guys really kind of get themselves back under control, work with Provorov, and then as well allowing for better pairings. You need that on this team, and that's one of the big changes we've been talking about since last season, and during the season, as a matter of fact, of some of the big things that had to change. And again, that's one of the things that clearly we've been seeing the Flyers focusing on. I mean, the Seth Jones thing does show that Fletcher is looking into that direction. Even if it doesn't exactly go your way, at least we're seeing him trying to make this happen. So it's like, all right, Fletcher does recognize the problem. He's trying to solve it. Let's see if, he can find something, even maybe a subtle sleeper move that can actually help out the situation. That may be more financially better for the Flyers moving forward.
And there's nothing wrong with depth. I mean, certainly as we've seen baseball move from a shortened season into a full-fledged season, you're seeing injuries at an all-time high. You're going to see it in the NHL too. You know what I mean? Let's face facts. They've played a lot of hockey in a short amount of period of time, and then you go from 52 games scheduled. A 56 game schedule to an 82 game schedule. I mean, it's it's going to have some effects. So I mean, to have that depth, to be able to pull from from your healthy scratch list, from taxi squad if that's still present, from the Phantoms below. You know what I mean? I think a lot of this is going to deal with where this is going to set you up to where now, if you had to throw in a Phil Myers on a deal, you could do that now, because then you have, say, Braun and one of these, Sutter or Yandel to lock down your bottom, your third pairing, and then you still have enough talent. Assuming, and this is under the assumption that you're going to get a big name, or maybe they roll with Cam York again, after he got that taste. I personally think he's still going to need some seasoning down with the Phantoms. before he becomes a full-fledged Flyer. But these special talents, you never know. You know what I mean? You could have a dynamite camp and make this team. So there's a lot of questions, and there's nothing wrong with having many different answers.
No, absolutely. And you know what? There's 1,000 different ways that, oh, not maybe 1,000, but there's a few different ways that this could go. And, you know, one of the things is Cam York. What does he bring? What kind of camp does he have? Does he really have a legit shot at making the roster? I think yes. I think he absolutely does. A great college year. Came up, played well in his couple of games. Nothing crazy good, but like good enough. You bring in some veterans to kind of fill in some gaps, and you know you go from there. Like the thing that this defense is missing heavily is some form of leadership, and we saw how much of an impact Matt Niskanen's leadership and experience had after he retired. So you know you got to go out and you got to try and replace him. They never replaced him last year, and it hurt. And it really hurt the defensive side of the puck, and it hurt the goaltending as well, because I'm a true believer in the fact that your goalie's only as good as your defense. If your defense is going to be shit, your goalie's going to be shit. You know, we see it all the time. Montreal's defense played pretty well in the Stanley Cup Finals against Tampa, and we're going to get to your question here in a second, David. I mean, you're going to have your situations where Carey Price, you know, is going to, you know, be amazing like Carey Price is, but the defense played well enough. They weren't out of every single game. The offense just couldn't get going. You know, they only had one game where they got just completely obliterated.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we answer Dave's question, got Greg chiming in saying, "What's up, fellas? I #disagree to the poll. I want Nolan back. He's super skilled, and although underperformed this year, the fact that he played a full year is a win for him, and I think he comes back to have a good year next year."
I mean, Greg, to your point, that's kind of why I said that, you know, if you don't move him in a trade, right, why, you know, like, you know, your value there is to protect him, allow him to, you know, demonstrate that and maybe become a part of this team, a productive part of this team again, or at the very least, you raise his trade value. I just didn't like the heart, man. I saw him blatantly give up on plays, and it was disheartening. Excuse the pun.
But I like the pun.
I mean, you know what, though? I mean, I've also said that it was a weird year and that we shouldn't hold judgments against these athletes, you know, playing under a pandemic. You know what I mean? Definitely a rigorous schedule, not a lot of practice time to get things right in between, you know, so that's why I disagreed with the poll too, but I had different reasons. I still want to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get rid of him because he doesn't want to be here.
Right.
It's not because of his skill set or anything like that. It's because he doesn't want to be here. David Harris wants to know do we think anybody can knock off Tampa from a three-peat? I say yes.
There are
one,
a few
teams. It hasn't been done in forever, but two, well, it's not even because of any other team. It's because they are $18 million over the luxury, the luxury tax. I'm thinking it's baseball for a second. Over the salary cap. They're $18 million over the salary cap. That's a lot of money. You can't guarantee that, you know, one or two moves is going to get you back under to where you need to go. You can't guarantee that, you know, Seattle's even going to take anybody of worth or major contracts. So they're going to have to make some massive changes. They're going to have to make some trades they're not going to want to make. So I think we see a completely different Tampa Bay team next year.
Hedman to the Flyers confirmed. No.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, there are a few teams out there that could also be Tampa as well. Not just, you know, yeah, they're going to have to change the team around because of the salary cap issue. And even when they get to the playoffs, and we know that they will next year, you know, even when they do, if they're going on a run again, they can still be stopped. You know, I mean, the Islanders were really one game away from eliminating them. So, which was actually one game closer than the previous playoff. And then on
Florida
top,
wasn't far off either.
Yeah, and then also, what's to say if Tampa didn't drew Montreal and actually drew maybe Colorado? Hell, even Vegas. Yeah, Vegas, I know, haha, teehee, they can't, you know, beat Montreal. But Vegas still looked dangerous. I mean, yeah, they got through Minnesota, had a tough time, but they got through them, beat Colorado. The only reason why they lost was because, Marc-Andre Fleury had a couple really bad games, and Montreal shut down all the offense that Las Vegas had. If they don't run into Montreal, they run into maybe a Toronto team, who knows what that Stanley Cup final holds. Point is, there are a few teams out there that can knock off Tampa if they face them. So the question is them facing them. The only team that was threatening them was the Islanders and Florida. That was it.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20 at this point, but if we're looking into the future, there are teams that can knock off Tampa. But again, Tampa's got to make some massive changes because they have to get back under the salary cap before October. Otherwise, they're going to be in some trouble. And if Seattle doesn't take one of their big guns, and they're going to have to leave a couple of them unprotected. But I project them taking Tyler Johnson. They're going to be a very different team next year if they don't. If they don't. They could say, screw you, we're going to take Patrick Maroon and really screw him over. Because Patrick Maroon doesn't even make $1 million. And that really handcuffs them. I mean, we'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens.
True. And if Seattle wants to win the cup right out of the gate, they have to take Patrick Maroon. So,
I'm with you 100% on Yanni Gourde.
All right, then. So, Greg was saying, is it hard or is it not just trusting himself after injury? That's tough to determine on the outside, talking about Nolan Patrick there.
I'm never going to argue with you, Greg, because you have a great analytical mind here and looking from the outside. But when I see a guy just stop on a back check, that's hard, dude. It's not trusting himself. That's what I'm specifically talking about. But, maybe if he didn't want to ramp it up there, he had a headache. I mean, I'm not even being facetious there. I mean, there's outright times where I've seen him playing hard, so I don't want to pick on the guy. I mean, but whatever my determination is or isn't, the simple fact, as my astute colleague over here has pointed out, is he has said he doesn't want to be here. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, and that's the unfortunate part because he's a talented kid. He doesn't like playing under AV. I just don't think he likes the system.
Good night, Eileen, by the way.
Good night, Eileen.
Greg saying...
Me too,
yeah.
Greg. Yeah.
All right, then. Let's take a look here. Bryce saying Seattle going to be good. Seattle Vegas 2.0.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, Ron Francis hasn't had a lot of experience as a GM, and they bring in Dave Haxall as their coach. Two huge question marks there. Two huge question marks there, Bryce. I would like to say I agree they could very well potentially be a Vegas 2.0, but we'll see how they build their roster. I mean, Vegas just did a great job putting the right pieces in place.
It's tough to repeat that. That's like once in a quarter century, if not in a century, tying into David Harris's comment here that you saw with Vegas, that it's not fair to even have those expectations on Seattle. Will they get a fair amount of talent? Yes, but more often than not, expansion teams will struggle.
Yeah, and like I've been saying over the last few weeks here, with Vegas loaded up their front office before they even did anything with their roster. And I think that was their major move, and that was their best move, was bringing in an experienced GM who pretty much built the Washington Capitals that you see today. For the most part, I mean, there's a couple players here and there that probably weren't George McPhee's guys, and then you bring in a guy who hasn't had a ton of success in the NHL as a head coach, but Vegas went ahead and brought in Gerard Gallant, who's had success in the NHL. So it's all in how you build your front office, and I'm not doubting Ron Francis at all. I'm lowering my expectations for them because of that.
Yeah. Now, David, of course, saying, so do you think we'll see the Flyers win a Stanley Cup this century? The Flyers should be able to win a cup very soon. The problem is The
88
problem.
years left.
Yeah. I mean, they should be able to pull it off within then.
I don't think they do. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I get it though. I mean, I understand people are going to be down on the Flyers all year because of the fact that they had that bad season, but we'll see. This year is supposed to be, if you're following the pattern of the Flyers doing the in-out bullshit, this is the bounce back year. So this is not the year I'm really looking at. I expect them to make the playoffs. Here's the thing. The year after that, if they make the playoffs and finally stop doing the in-out shit, then we're making actual progress. That's when you know, okay, things are starting to get better because they're not doing the in-out crap that we saw over the last decade. So this is the bounce back year, and then the year after that, whether you win the cup or not, the year after that shows, okay, now they're moving consistently, making their progress towards being a more consistent contender for the Stanley Cup. That'll be what you got to look at right now, because it's always been we're good one year, we're bad the next. Got to stop doing that.
Stuck in mediocrity.
Yep. And Jesse saying Vegas did an amazing job. People shit on the expansion, but Vegas with the thought process and the 3-team trades after was genius.
It was.
Benny's Nation saying, what's up, boys? What's up, Benny?
Benny.
And Jesse also saying, Philly teams only when you don't expect it. Never, ever has been, we're going to win championship and then do it.
Classic, especially with the Flyers, man. Whenever they were number 1 or number 2 seed heading into the playoffs, for sure, early exit was always when they were in that 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th range. You know, maybe they just squeaked in by taking a shootout against the Rangers. You know, that's when the Flyers do it. So that's why I could suspect a team that has had previous success squeak in with a wild card out of the Metro. And, you know, you got some pieces there. It's just all about, you know, how they fill them in this offseason. And in regard to, you know, what Vegas did, like, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. You know, it was genius moves, so I don't want to take anything away from that. You know, when I said, you know, the luck factor of that happening once in a while, but they can, you know, when you have certain players available and you can just, you know, piece them together and they complement each other well, that's what you had in Vegas.
I mean,
or have in Vegas.
Yeah. And as for the Philly thing, you know, when they win, when they never win when they are expected to, you know, I mean, the closest I think, at least in this modern century, that a Philadelphia team got close to winning a championship when they were expected to, what was the 09 Phillies when they got to the World Series and faced the Yankees, and they didn't win. So it's like, that's the closest any Philadelphia team's gotten to winning a championship when they're expected to be there. And they didn't win. So that tells you a lot.
I kind of expected 2018 to be there. I mean, their expectations was high. David Harris, appreciate you chiming in. We'll answer any questions you have. Hit that subscribe button over there on YouTube. Turn on the alerts, my friend, and you'll never miss a show. We'll always be here to answer your questions.
Yeah, no problem, David. We're welcome everyone who wants to comment in. Join the fam. Become an A2D member if you want. And then, you know, we keep on answering your questions no matter what, though. So thank you. And Prism saying, I'm expecting the Kraken to make all kinds of trades. I expect them to use the Vegas as the blueprint. Just because we take a player doesn't mean we have to keep a player. True. But here's what I think is probably going to happen with the Kraken. I actually think the Kraken make the playoffs. However, I don't think they make it as a top seed. I think they actually either get in on a wild card or they get in as maybe a 3. And then maybe they upset the right opponent in the first round, but I don't see them going on the run the way Vegas did. You know, I think them making the playoffs would be a huge step in the right direction for them as their first year, but I don't think they're going to do what Vegas did. That was lightning in the bottle, perfect timing, and it all rallied around them. But I can see them making the playoffs. They play their cards right. They could do it. They may just make it as a lower-seeded team instead of a higher-seeded team like Vegas did.
It's a possibility because you got teams out there on the West Coast that are on the up and up, but because they're on the up and up, I expect Anaheim, your team, Brian, to take that next step this year. The Kings showed some life there towards the end of that shortened season. You know, San Jose even played with some vigor. You know, like it's not going to be a cakewalk for them. You know, it depends on how they orchestrate it, but there are teams that can get in their way for sure.
No, and I'm expecting Anaheim to take a step forward too. The only thing they need to really get going is the offense. Defense was there. I thought Gibby played well enough. They were always in the games. They just couldn't figure out ways to score goals, and if they can do that, I think they're a team that could potentially be, battling for a wild card spot.
Yeah, and there is a path, Maddie. There is a path. I'm not saying that you're off by making such statement, but I just think that you're going to see some improved play out there in the Pacific.
I think we are. Yeah, I definitely think we are. I just, this my whole scenario is just strictly if they play their cards right and they draft properly. If they make a couple of mistakes here or there, totally null and void. They could easily miss.
And how these teams also draft too in the upcoming draft. Let's not ignore that. All the focus on the expansion draft. There's going to be a lot of new faces in the NHL coming up soon. So, it's going to be an exciting couple weeks of hockey here. Just because the games are done doesn't mean we are.
Yeah,
nope, we're not done yet. We got an expansion draft on the 21st, and then, that's next week.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, snuck up on me. And then you got the NHL draft a week later, and then free agency opens up.
Yep.
Yeah, 28th, I believe, free agency opens up. Going to have Nick Rodriguez, a good NHL reporter, a journalist over at Elite Fantasy I work with. He works on the DF side, but he's hep on the trade market, man. He's made some good calls in terms of where guys land. So I'm a little excited to have him on the program in coming weeks.
And David, you were right. Seattle does have an awesome name. Their jerseys are really cool, too. I mean, obviously, I'm going to wait a good, season before I go grab one because it's going to be pretty hard to find one. Because when the new team comes out, that shit's going to fly.
Stuff's already fine. I see guys come into the store all the time wearing Seattle Kraken gear.
Yeah. And Jesse's saying, can we talk about how the Oilers can get the best player in this generation and still compete with Buffalo for the most trash franchise? Well, I mean, Buffalo wins that country mile.
On offense and not defense. They have no defense.
No.
They have no goaltending. I can't remember the last goaltender they had that was good.
I think it was Dwayne Rollison.
Maybe. It might have even been before him.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we could say an Edmonton goaltender was elite level or playing at an elite level.
Elite.
And then see Benny saying Winnipeg will take another step next year as well. True. Winnipeg will be that. Oh, and by the way, there will be the adjustment because the Coyotes are going to move to the Central Division because Seattle's going to take their place. So I'm sorry, Coyotes, your suffering will continue. That's not a fun.
Winnipeg should take a step forward next year. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Benny's saying, speaking of change. Oh yeah, what were you gonna say, Rob?
I was just saying that's interesting. I didn't hear that, Maddie, and I should have. That's going to create a lot more traveling for Coyotes, no?
Yeah, and the primary reason why is because when you think about the other teams in the Pacific, I don't think there are any other teams that you can move that would make sense because you have all the California teams. You have Vancouver. Now you're going to have Seattle. I believe is Edmonton in that division. No, Edmonton I think is in the Central. I forget who the rest of the Pacific Division. But yeah, the Coyotes are coming out of that division.
No, you're right. You're right with Edmonton in the Pacific.
Okay, Edmonton is in there. Okay, yeah, Edmonton could have been the other choice, but yeah.
I think it's time zone thing though, because Arizona, there is no they're sort of both time zones, so I think they'll be the least effective that way.
Yeah,
and maybe it's not as much as you think. You know what I mean? It's no walk in the park from Arizona to California. I've taken that drive before out in the desert. Fun times.
I got a 6.5, 7 hour drive ahead of me just to get down to North Carolina. I'm not looking forward to that.
True.
You're probably going to get up early too to beat that Washington D.C. traffic, right?
I might not even go through D.C. I might go around.
I got you.
I might go around. I might go down through I guess it would be the Virginia Beach area. I would avoid Washington D.C. altogether. I'll try to anyway.
Gotcha.
But anyway,
Speaking of changes, are we happy that ESPN has the package now? I'm personally not a fan, which is interesting to note because, by the way, ESPN will be broadcasting the expansion draft, but I think is it Is it on regular ESPN or ESPN2? I forget which one it was.
Probably ESPN2.
Yeah, I think it is. But nonetheless, though, yeah, so it's already begun. It shit's been sneaking up on everybody. It's like, holy shit, we're already in the ESPN era. We didn't even have time to to really put the NBC one to rest. We put it in the ground, and now, oh shit, expansion draft, ESPN. Holy shit.
I mean, ESPN sucks. I'm really not looking forward to ESPN's coverage. It depends who they can get to be the commentators in the game. That could save it a little bit. But they went out and they just got names to be analysts for ESPN. They got Wayne Gretzky. They got Mark Messier. They just got some of the biggest names that be associated with the game, and they think that that's going to help. And it's not, because ESPN's coverage of the NHL is terrible, and it was terrible before they even had to give it up.
Well, because they get the rights and then they bury it on their own programming, i.e., having the expansion draft on ESPN2 rather than ESPN, which is correct, and that's the first statement. The second is that out of all those extra games, like that's the great thing about NBC Sports, that you felt like watching a hockey game at 10 o'clock. I go watch, Edmonton, Anaheim. You know what I mean? It'd be on NBC Sports. Now, if I'm a lot of those games, you're gonna have to sign up for Disney or ESPN Plus. Specifically in this case, ESPN Plus, to get those streaming games, and they're making that, yeah, exactly, moving that. Oh, you got that? Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you're on that already. But I mean, that's good. You're gonna have to be our correspondent there, because I'm definitely gonna have a less opportunity to watch hockey now. So I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, and I think apparently between ESPN and TNT and ABC, they're gonna have multiple games. So hopefully we'll get some more. David Harris saying Oilers haven't been good since they had the great one in the boys.
Yeah,
they had a couple of seasons here and there. 2006 was probably their most recently successful season, falling short of one game, I believe, of the Stanley Cup in 2006 to the Carolina Hurricanes.
And that was as an 8th seed too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did, Perez, you're right. They did win one cup after Wayne Gretzky was traded to LA.
They did in the 90s, back when they that was still when they had Mark Messier and they had a few other. I think they still had Curry at the time. That was before he went to LA to go work with Gretzky again, and before Messier left to go to New York. So that was right at the end of that dynasty. They got that last one, and that was it. That was all she wrote for Edmonton.
Yeah, Benny, they never should have hired Barry Melrose. You said he lost it. He never had it. Just get him gone. Get him gone.
Well, he never left. I mean, I come to find out that there's been a podcast going on. He's just been there like the crypt keeper, waiting for hockey to return to ESPN. And now it has, excellent. I get to blow some more hot air. Excellent. Well, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, hopefully, my hope is in the extra coverage there with the other, with the other broadcasting networks, you know what I mean? And you're always, apprehensive with change, you know what I mean? As long as I can watch my team, that's all I give a fuck about.
Mm-hmm. And I think all the games should still be on the local networks, so I don't think you have to worry about that.
Yeah, no changes there. And then,
but I wonder now. So, like, for the Philly channel, is that what are they going to do? Is it going to be under ESPN banner now, like just as it was NBC Sports, or does the contract, like, that's the one thing I'm a little unknowledgeable about how that's going to be handled.
I think it's going to remain the same because it's considered a Comcast contract.
Okay.
So I think it's just going to continue to be just what it is, and I know it's NBC Philly, but. Right. Because it's not considered, I think it's not an NBC contract. It's more of a Comcast contract with an NBC label on it, because the station is NBC, but I think the games are still owned by Comcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the team is owned by Comcast, so that would make sense.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of why I think that's what it is, and why it's going to just stay the same.
All right, then. So, gentlemen, that transitions us into going down the roster here. let's take a look here and let's see what we got, who we think will be protected and who we think won't be. Obviously, entry-level deals are automatically protected, so those are guys that you don't need to worry about. Knack, I do believe, is on an entry-level deal. He's the first one that came up, so he will be automatically protected. Cates is as well. Coots.
Oh, I think he's protected.
All right, then.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be protected.
All right, then. Farabee, I believe, still on his entry-level deal, if I stand correct. So he'll be fine.
Yep.
Frost as well. All right. Giroux is automatically protected because of his no movement clause. The same thing with Hayes. TK.
How many can you protect in the front? It's 6, right?
Yeah, about that.
So we said. So who did we say so far? We said Giroux, obviously Hayes. Did we say Farabee? Farabee, probably Morgan Frost.
Coots as well.
I say you keep TK unprotected.
No, I think whatchamacallit, I think he also too. I'm trying to look that up right now. I think he also falls under the guy that you have to protect based on his years of service. No.
Well, he's on his. I think he's off his rookie deal. I think he's into his new deal now.
He is, okay, all right, and he's not, and he's still within that deal. He's not unrestricted or restricted free agent.
No, I think this was he was.
No, this was the deal we signed him to. I think it was.
After he became an RFA, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I say that then they are going to protect him.
All right, then.
I mean, just, you've seen the goal scoring count there before. I mean, he's a guy that, when his game's right and he's getting underneath the opposition's skin, what I mean, that's valuable. Like a la what we saw with Brandon Gallagher in this year's playoffs. It's good, especially you build a team for the playoffs and not just to do well in the regular season. You need a guy like TK. Am I a homer? 100%.
I do believe, though, that the entry levels don't actually count towards the protected players because of the fact that they wouldn't be eligible anyway. So, literally, you're just protecting players that would be eligible or could be eligible if you left them unprotected.
All right. So, as far as forwards go, then we only have, 3? I have 3 off of my head. So, that's just Cooch, Giroux, and
Hayes. And then, Rob, you have Konechny on top of that. And let's see, Tanner Lashinsky, he is on an entry-level deal. Scotty Lawton, who we have debated after he got signed to his new deal, is this to be tempting to allow the Kraken to take him? Are you guys still feeling that? Or are you guys still kind of like, nah?
I like Superman Scotty. I protect him.
All right, then.
Agreed.
He just showed really good intangibles this year, and he showed us the scoring ability that we knew that he had, and I thought he had a great year. So I protect him. I keep him as my third-line center.
All right, then. Oscar Lindblom is still on his entry-level deal. Oh, wait. No, he's not. He is not. Because I believe we did have to sign him to a small contract after he went down with his cancer.
Who's that before?
Lindblom.
No, I said it was before.
Oh, it was before. Okay. So, I mean, obviously you would want to protect him.
I wouldn't, but I don't think he gets picked.
Gotcha. Robbie.
I don't think he's intriguing enough.
Okay.
I don't know. It's tough, man, because if I see an Oscar Lindblom out there and available, I'm going to snipe him. I'm going to have to say you protect him. And I know I'm running out, but we'll get there when we get there.
Jesse was saying protect Coots, but I would trade him even though I think he's a great player. Benny's Nation saying protect Coots. And Jesse's saying expose Lindblom. So he's with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I don't think he gets picked. I don't think he's intriguing enough. I think the Flyers have a couple more intriguing players than he will. I think you're safe to expose him and still get him back.
All right, then.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe for that argument, Patrick, too, then maybe you don't have to protect him then in that regard. Or do you say that he's a little bit more appealing?
I'm saying he might be a little bit more appealing.
Really?
He's one of the couple guys that
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I might, if there's another guy, I might have to put Lindblom on my wait and see list. You guys make good arguments.
What we did.
Look at Pris's comment. Y'all leave Duncan Keith chatter down just a bit. I had to take a moment and play the "I will remember you, you will remember me" song.
We didn't even bring it up yet.
Oh, we will though. We will. And then Benny's saying, how much influence does Hack still have considering he knows this lineup? He does know it a little bit. Yeah, there are some of the youth that we do have that he did coach in Philadelphia.
I'm sure he'll have a say, but Ron Francis is going to have the final say. So, I mean, we'll see.
True.
It is going to be Hackstall's lineup, but it's Ron Francis's roster. So, I'm sure there'll be internal discussions, but
it's a good point he makes, though, just by pointing that out. That I mean, you do have a little bit of insider knowledge there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. We have Sam Moran, who actually can be left unprotected because he is an unrestricted free agent.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would leave him exposed as well.
I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't think anyone would take Moran because I think Moran is still very unproven at the level of the NHL because mostly his injury history, too, I think also kind of throws a little bit of a red flag up and say, I don't know. Kid's tall. It looks like he's tough, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if that's enough to make the crack and say, yeah, I want him.
Again,
yeah, truth.
Yeah, I was going to just say real quick, Robbie, before you jump on there, is another guy who I think you can expose and be okay with more appealing players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes sense, too. But, I mean, the ultimate fact that he's a free agent, too, that they would pick him and then have to sign him, to a contract, you know what I mean? At that point, makes him even that more. I think any of the three unrestricted free agents on the squad, you don't have to protect them.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Prism saying, my guy's protecting my guy Superman. And then Jesse went on to say, every coach since 2014 knows this same roster.
Yeah,
it really hasn't changed.
Oh, and let's see. And Prism saying, trade Coots to Chicago. You're just upset because Keith is gone. We know where that's coming from.
I don't blame him for that. I'd be upset too.
Let's see here. We also have Nolan Patrick. We talked about that earlier on the poll. Once again, as a quick roundup, Bri, what did you say again for the agree or disagree on the poll?
Bye.
All
Bye,
right,
Felicia.
then.
Get him out.
Robbie?
I'm sorry, say again?
What was your answer to the poll again?
Well, I disagreed. Basically, in terms of that, the poll was to leave him unprotected, correct? That they will leave him unprotected. I had disagreed, so I got to stand by that. I after this discussion now, in terms of appeal, I think they will leave him unprotected, but that wasn't my stance at the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, then.
Not going to flip flop. We'll find out Saturday morning.
Let's see here. Carson Torrinsky, he is on an entry-level deal. And JVR, what are you guys thinking on that one?
He will be left unprotected. And I really think that the Flyers hope that one of him, Voracek, or potentially Shane Gostisbehere gets picked in this expansion draft. I would like to see it be Jake Voracek, but I have a feeling that it's going to be Gostisbehere or JVR even. Who showed really strong veteran promise, being that key cog in front of the net that could be valuable for an expansion team. That's trying to chip in dirty goals. It might fit that motif, but Shane is also a likely a Garner too. You know, a lot of ties with Hackstall there. You know, in either regard, but certainly with Shane, you know, rearing him from the college ranks himself. You know what I mean? Has that experience with him and coming in, saw what he's capable of. So I don't know, a roundabout way to say that I think JVR or Gasper will be selected by the Kraken.
It's a tough situation because he is coming off a good year.
Yeah.
56 games, I believe he was a little more than half a point a game. I think they protect him. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they wind up protecting JVR.
All right, then. And we have Jesse saying, you could trade Coots for a great defenseman or a player of his status to change up this team needs. It's not out.
No, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
See, you could, but so that means you're definitely sticking with G and hoping that he plays like what 6 to 8 more years for you. Do you see that?
Yeah, I could see him playing maybe 3 or 4, 6 to 8. Ooh.
So then where does that leave you? You know what I mean? I mean, you know, maybe another guy steps up. Maybe you have like a Provorov, go back to a defensive captain, you know, which has always been a good recipe for success on this team. But I don't know. To me, it just kind of seems like, you know, this is Coots' team, you know, to carry the captaincy after Jay. You know what I mean? But that almost to the degree that it might be more likely that you see G gone before Coots.
Mm.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, if any of those rumors were true last year about Coots being a little bit of a pain in the ass in the locker room, could be room to move him. Could be a little bit of leverage on his side to try and get out of Philly, but we don't really know for sure.
Yeah, since I haven't heard more from it, and I did hear from it then, besides you bringing it to the show, so there's definitely something there. To me, that kind of seemed like frustration in the midst of a chaotic season of losing. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Everybody's going to lose their shit.
As they should.
Yeah, underperforming.
You're expected to be a playoff team who's coming off one win from the Eastern Conference Finals last year in the bubble. Yeah, your expectations for not just yourself, but from the fans is going to be high. So if you're not playing that level, I understand the frustration.
Right.
And Frank saying, hi, friends, as he spelled it out as the TV show style.
Yeah, because he knows I'm watching it.
What are the chances of Nat going to the Kraken? Very low. Very, very low. Only because of the entry level. So that's the only reason why it's low.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, that's right. He's not eligible, right?
Yeah. All right. And then person saying, what's Brian Elliott's situation? He can walk. He's actually, if he doesn't sign with Philadelphia, then he's a free agent, basically.
Yeah,
he's one of the top backup free agents out there.
Yeah. And Jesse was there, and then Prism saying, hey, what's up, Damien? He's saying, hey, guys,
Damien.
top show and lockdown here, down under. It's been 3 weeks and still 2 more weeks. So,
sorry to hear, brother. Hope you're staying safe down there, brother.
Yeah, hopefully, man.
Really? Has there been a spike in cases again? And Damien's coming to us from Australia, correct?
Yep.
Wow, I'm sorry. I've been trying to keep up with current events. Apparently, I missed that one. You know, and you know, specifically New Zealand, but Australia in general has done such a great job. But the Delta variant is running about. We saw the Yankees Red Sox game get postponed tonight. You know, not determining which. You can't determine that just from a positive COVID test. But lo and behold, 3 players got it on the Yankees, and they had to postpone the game. So I'm sorry to hear that, Damien. But
yeah,
you know, the good thing is vaccinations are our best line of defense there.
Yeah, and the Phillies had four scares, I guess, because I guess it was just symptoms. Went and got tested, I haven't heard anything since. So apparently, I guess it was just symptoms, showing symptoms, but didn't have COVID.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, the Delta variant is very much more contagious too.
Yeah.
Remember that show in Queens that I was talking about for AEW? Yeah, it's not happening now, Matty.
yeah.
If I'm gonna get the COVID, I'm gonna get it watching baseball. I'm sorry.
Sounds good to me.
I don't mean to laugh. It's not a laughing situation. It's trying to put a little smile on our faces. You know what I mean? Because it's scary. It's scary that we felt like we were like we had moved past, like we were moving on, and life was getting back to normal. And it's like there's still room where you have to be safe. You have to still focus. You still have to be diligent. At this point, we're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes that can be the toughest part is when you think it's over and it's not. But Prism saying, I wouldn't trade Coots if I was Philly, but I'd sure as hell take him.
That's what I'm saying, man. 200-foot players don't grow on trees. I don't care what the hell he did or did not do last year.
No, you're right. You're right.
Especially top 3 two-way players.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's just a 200-foot player. He's one of the top 3 200-foot players in the NHL.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And Prism saying Farabee 30 goals or more next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we definitely see Farabee take big steps. Yeah, I could definitely.
I so do, and I want to say that, but that's what I said about TK, and I don't want to put the freaking Maloites on Farabee, so I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he has 12 goals.
Oh, nice. This year.
And then he doubles that.
Freaking mush. I was going to say earlier when David Harris asked about if the Flyers were going to the Cup this century, I was going to be like, well, it depends on how long I live. You know what I mean? Because you can bet for sure they'll be dancing parading down Broad Street because I'm freaking mush. But you gotta lock me in the bathroom. Name that movie.
Benny's they should say Pris depends on what line they put him on. And that's what he was saying about Farabee on that one. All right, then. So let's see here. Now, Jesse is saying
that he'd have a shot at 30 at top line,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if I stand correct, Jesse said, I thought Knack was eligible. I don't think he is. I think he's still on his entry-level deal. I'll double-check that to be 110% sure, but I could have swore he was on his entry-level deal.
When I first read Frank's comment, that's why I went, it could be, because there was some talk that, you may want to, protect him. I forget whether I was listening to Martinez or someone else on that matter. But right now I got Carchiti's article from the Inquirer up, and it doesn't list Knack as a guy that they have to be particularly concerned with protecting. So that's why I think you are right, Matty. I don't know. I'm too old to figure this nonsense out. You want to talk about a guy's game, I'll break it down for you better than anybody else in the business. Otherwise, don't listen to me. Listen to these two guys.
Oh, let's see here.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, those damn allergies, man. They'll sneak up on you. Let's see. Emilio saying
Stay away
Flyers.
from those nasal sprays, though. They're freaking addicting.
Wow. Oh, my God. It's bad.
Now, Emilio makes his prediction, and he's saying Flyers get Sutter, Tarasenko, and Alexiak, Shed, Ghost, and Voracek. Interesting.
I'll take that. It depends on what we're giving up for Tarasenko, but I like that.
I don't hate it. You're going to get Sutter cheap. Alexiak, you could get fairly cheap. Well, I mean, the problem with going that heavy on defense, which I do like, Emilio, is who are you taking out of the lineup? I mean, you want to keep You obviously want to keep Justin Braun in there. You have Provy. You have Haig. You have Sanheim. You have Phil Myers. You really only have one spot to fill.
I think it's assumed that if you're getting Tarasenko, one of those defensemen are gone, most probably linked to Phil Myers in that scenario. Now, my only question is that would they take Voracek if he's not selected in the expansion draft rather than a young talent. You know what I mean? A guy that, can still produce, maybe get a change of scenery, and all of a sudden you have a dynamo. Because that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Instantly, Voracek's going to be having 100 points and challenging for a trophy.
No, absolutely.
That's the type of guy he is. And he'll still be flipping off reporters after games like nobody's business.
Emilio, I'm glad you sent that because that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
You give up Phil Myers in that trade, and that frees up that spot for Alexiak.
And then Emilio also saying dark horse for Voracek is LA. Now, LA has been a trading partner for Philly in the past. And let's just say LA's benefited from trades with Philadelphia very often. So it may not be out of the realm of possibility that LA could be a dark horse there.
Roscoe, you don't think about some of these trades that you put in here, do you? Oliver Ekman-Larsson to the Oilers for Ethan Bear. Ethan Bear's he's good, but he's not on OEL's level.
That just sounds like straight logic to me, man.
That's NHL 21 logic right there. Like, love you, Roscoe, like for real, but. And then Brian started the Coyotes. You just said earlier that Brian started to the Ducks. You gotta make up your mind, brother. Make up your mind.
Laying out possibilities, man. It's fantasy trading season.
It is fantasy trading season. Okay, I'll give you that. All right, hang on.
And Prism saying, depends on how long I live. George Carlin level of dark and funny.
Well done. Well done, George Carlin. The best.
If you ever, yeah. One of the best stand-ups of all time. Definitely.
So blessed I got to see him at the State Theater up in New Brunswick a couple years before he passed away.
Yeah. But hey, man, at least you did get to see him, right?
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. It was beautiful.
Dude, were you able to, how much tears were coming down your face from just pure laughing, and how bad were your ribs hurting?
Not that bad, actually, because, don't get me wrong. I'm cracking up the whole time, but, Carlin was an intellectual. You know what I mean? Kind of former English teacher. So it was like that witty humor that's not going to, give you the gut-wrenching laugh, but you're going to find it even more humorous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
It's not like, I'm not talking say Richard Pryor back in the day, you know what I mean? That's when you're getting the belly busters.
I got you. Okay. So let's see here. We've got Jake Voracek up next. Well, he doesn't want to stay in Philly. So do you think the Flyers say, fuck it, leave him unprotected and see if maybe the Kraken will take him off our hands?
Well, Flyers have already said they're going to leave him unprotected, so yeah.
So yeah. And to the defenseman, Justin Braun.
I think they leave him unprotected.
Yeah.
Ghost, still in the ballpark of unprotected territory here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And Haig.
Yeah, I think you could leave him unprotected as well. Because he bounced between the Phantoms and the NHL roster. You could do 3 defensemen or 8 skaters of any combination. I pick a lot of forwards, so I'm gonna have to skimp on my defensemen. Pretty much, I'm protecting Provy, I'm protecting Sanheim, and who else would I have to protect?
You have what, 3?
Yeah, you have 3.
Well, obviously Provy, Sanheim. I think they're definitely the 2 easiest ones.
Yeah, and then you're
I would protect Haig.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe if you have to, maybe that's what allows me. Yeah, maybe I only protect 2 defensemen. Because the thing of it is though now, because I think you got to protect Myers. You know what I mean, to protect that trade asset if that's indeed what you're targeting as. You know what I mean? You don't want to just lose them for nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. But like I said, I still think there's more intriguing guys that are going to be unprotected. That maybe you get away with leaving like a Myers unprotected and not have to worry about him getting picked either.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
And still, you could still use Myers as a trading piece in that Tarasenko deal if Emilio, his trade comes to light.
This one right here.
No, but that's another good one. That's another good one. I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona left him unprotected.
Well done. Well done.
I wouldn't surprise me one bit if Arizona left him unprotected.
So let's see here. What do we got? Phil Myers.
I think he stays unprotected. I think the three defensemen is going to wind up being Provy and Haig and Sanheim.
All right, then. And then obviously Provorov protected, Sanheim protected. So those were the last on the defensemen. All right, then. On to the goalies. And obviously Elliott, he's going to be a free agent anyway. And I don't know if the Flyers have any intention of, keeping him around. I mean, I'm not saying that Elliott is done bad as a backup. He hasn't. But do you want to keep him around, or do you want to put somebody else there behind Hart now? That's kind of where you're getting into the debate of, do you want to change your backup?
All right, I wouldn't be surprised if they did at the end of the day resign. You know what I mean? I mean, it is a good formula. He's been a good mentor for Hart, but that doesn't seem like what the writing is on the wall. I don't think they're going to protect him, and I think ultimately he doesn't get selected, but does sign somewhere else. And I think what the Flyers would be wise to do, right, is to bring in a guy that's a quality, maybe a little bit more durable that could go start to start and really, create a nice challenge to where, players always play better when they're challenged for their position. Let's face it.
Especially a guy like Carter Hart, who loves competition, who loves
absolutely
always trying to be raised to the next level. And with that being said, I'm with Jesse 100%. You bring Felix Sandstrom up. You let Elliott walk.
Right.
You bring up Sandstrom, and you let these two kids battle it out.
Yeah.
And if Sandstrom plays well enough through training camp, because you still have Usamenko too, who's going to be a really good young goaltender. So maybe you trade Sandstrom and try and get something for him.
Right.
I thought right behind him too.
I thought they were going to. Remember, we talked about that a few shows back in terms of who was going to make this squad for next year. That seems like that, and that's a young guy that can challenge and be like, I'll take your job, man.
Yeah, no,
watch out.
Yep. I'm 100% with that because for that reason, he's still young enough. He had a great year last year. Probably should have been the backup sooner than he was. And you can if Carter Hart's having a rough game and still showing signs of what he did this past season, you could throw Felix Sandstrom in. Sandstrom's 26. He's between 24 and 26. So bring him up, let him show off a little bit, and like you said, Rob, to your point exactly, competition sometimes brings out the best in people. What better competition is than saying, hey, this kid could be an NHL starter. Carter, step up. Step up. And I think Carter Hart will. But I think it'd be fun to see those two.
And Amelia's saying bring in Felix the Cat Sandstrom.
Thanks, Chris. I still got it right here.
It does have a cool old school Flyers feel to it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Takes it back to Gar Snow and Ron Hextall. Yeah, it is a sick one. I appreciate that, Chris.
So let's see here.
We pick it up. I think that's why my allergies started going crazy.
So we move on from Elliott. Obviously, Hart will be protected, and they do have Lyon listed here because he played, but I don't even think Lyon would be because he's a third-string goaltender. So I don't even think that's a debate on that one. But
he's also an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
Wow,
so it's an interesting situation. I mean, at the end of the day, also, when it comes to the two young goalies, if worst comes to worst, if you want to because, you're having two young goalies, one who's been in the NHL, one who hasn't been in the NHL. Worst comes to worst, you sign a veteran goalie for cheap, and you just have him in the Phantoms just in case some shit happens. And then you can bring that person up to back up the other one. And then that way you can have some stability if necessary. If you want to go that route, you could go that route. But I am for the idea of having two young pups having an opportunity to prove themselves at the NHL level. Hart, he proved himself already. I still believe Hart is the goaltender of the future. But having Sandstrom there kind of lighting a fire under Hart's ass to let him know, hey, man, listen, we know you're the best. We know you can be one of the best goaltenders that the Flyers have seen this side of Hextall. But at the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to start showing that a little bit more consistently. And if you do that, we don't need to worry about this Sandstrom kid. But if you don't show that, the Sandstrom kid's going to want your spot. And that's competition right there. That's how NHL teams have always worked. That's how all sports teams work. When you've got young players who want to get that big spot, that big top player spot, sometimes that brings out the best in goaltenders.
Bryce, the only problem with bringing in Grubauer, and I think that would be a great suggestion, is he wants to be a starter. He comes here, he's not going to be a starter. I don't think he leaves Colorado anyway. I think he's got a good spot there.
Yep. Also, on top of that, we also have to take into account of re-signings that the Flyers are going to have to do, because Carter Hart is at the end of his entry-level deal, so we'll have to sign him to a bridge deal. Luckily, though, with the season that he just came off of, we don't have to give him his big boy contract. We don't. We can actually get a prove-it deal. We can give him one. We know he doesn't have to prove it, but we can give him that, basically, and say, listen, when the time comes to renegotiate this, if you're back up to snuff and you're playing as the starter we know you can be, we can talk extensions. And then we can talk about pay raises and stuff like that. We can talk about a new deal. That's when you start doing that, basically.
I mean, I don't see Carter Hart signing that. I see Carter Hart going after his big boy contract. You probably make it a little more back heavy than front because of pretty much everything you just said, Maddie. But I don't see him not signing a longer term deal. I don't see him signing a bridge deal. Just to me, it doesn't make any sense. Just to sign him to a bridge deal, just to sign him to another longer term deal after. You might even be able to get him a little bit cheaper, too. So, I mean, you don't really know. I mean, I'm not his agent. We're obviously not going to be in the talks with the contract, but it's my prediction. I think you can sign him to a $5.5 million contract over the next 6 to 8 years and be okay.
All right, then.
And that's just based off of what we've seen from him so far.
And Emilio's saying, I don't think the Flyers should waste $3 to $4 million on a backup. I agree. Yeah, you shouldn't be wasting that much money on a backup goaltender.
I saw somebody, I think it was Benny, said something about Jonathan Bernier. He wants to stay in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Benny.
It might have been. I think it was Benny who said that. Prism saying that's a good idea, but after last year, I want Hart to have a better defense, and it's not in his head. That'll make him think he's already being replaced. Young goalies' confidence are like mental gymnastics. It's a good point.
Yeah, they're head cases, all of them. Trust me, I talked to enough.
Yeah. It was Benny. I think you bring in Bernier to back up Hart.
A lot of these veteran guys are choosing to stay in Detroit. They like what they see that's going on there, so they want to be a part of that.
Well, it might be a situation where maybe they do wind up re-signing Elliott to another deal. Maybe a 1-year deal or something.
Give him a 1 year, maybe $2 million deal.
Yeah,
and I'm talking like $2 million max.
Yeah, not a penny higher.
Yeah, I'm not. I'd be okay with that because he's a guy who's been working with Carter anyway. He's already familiar with him. He doesn't have to bring in another guy who's not so familiar with who he is, his tendencies, his issues mentally. Like Elliott already knows that.
Yeah.
It's more of a benefit than it is anything.
Yeah, because, he's familiar with everything. He's familiar with the team. He's familiar with the system. So, he doesn't have to get acclimated. He already knows.
Exactly.
Prism saying Grubauer coming off a Vezina finalist. I don't know if he's going anywhere. I don't really see Grubauer going anywhere anyway. So I'd be surprised if Grubauer leaves Colorado.
Not for a backup role, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Colorado, now that we've gotten to the end of the Flyers roster, let's talk about Landeskog, who currently, right now, extension talks. They actually haven't officially gotten anywhere close to meeting in the middle or getting close to an agreement. Do you think that changes anything? Because I really don't think it does. I think inevitably Landeskog stays in Colorado.
I think it could. It depends on how the relationships go. If they can fix it. He's a staple in Colorado. Like he's not just a big name guy, and he's not just a captain. He's one of the faces of that franchise. And I agree with Jesse. I think they figure it out. I think they get it to work. And I think Landy stays put.
Yeah, as you see free agency come about, you know what I mean, and maybe more players making offers, I think that's going to put a little bit more drive in two sides meeting where it needs to be. Yeah, he stays in Colorado.
If Eichel and Buffalo can make it work, I definitely think Landy and Colorado can make it work.
Yeah, I think so. All right. So, gentlemen, let's talk about it. Our second topic on the bill, the Seth Jones saga. Obviously, it has been going all around the bend. We've been hearing about it from here to Kingdom Come. Finally, it seems like we're getting towards the end, as obviously talks stalled between Philadelphia and Seth Jones, which is usually not a good sign. And so I'm starting to think, okay, we're not getting Jones. Let's go look somewhere else, boys. Jones isn't coming over to Philadelphia.
Nope.
When we say Jonesy, we're still going to talk about Keith Jones.
So what essentially wants to happen with that is Seth wants to sign an extension somewhere. He doesn't see himself wanting to stay long-term in Philadelphia, and that's kind of the deal breaker and why the deal's starting to fall apart. And I mean, I would rather have Seth Jones. He's that defensive-minded guy that you want. He's a pure two-way player, two-way defenseman. Great leader, great guy to have in the locker room. He's a good voice. But he doesn't – like Philly's right now at that point where it's not really attractive, especially coming off the season that they had. And he wants to compete. I mean, he's had 2 competitive seasons in his career. Nashville traded him before they got good. And then he goes to Columbus. Dude wants to play in the playoffs. And I just don't feel like he wants to be here because he feels like Philadelphia's not going to be that team yet. So I think that plays a huge, huge asset into why he doesn't want to come here.
Yep. And Emilio saying no contract extension, no deal.
I don't know. Honestly, I couldn't tell you that one, Emilio.
Emilio also, yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Well, it really doesn't matter anyway because it doesn't look like he's going to be wearing the orange and black. So, gents, since he's not coming to Philly, where do you think he goes? Who do you think snags Jones?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we're going to see this unfold in terms of as free agency begins, but
Chris.
Confirmed. Oh, hey, it's
Good.
trade your boy, and you'll get Seth Jones.
Yeah,
It could be. They already got Caleb. They got Caleb in the return for Duncan Keith. I mean, that's not. I honestly don't know if that's out of the realm of possibilities. Is Chicago? I got to see what their cap looks like. I'll
Jesse,
do that right now.
Lightning joke.
Does a team like Edmonton?
Lightning will figure out a way to get it done too, which is funny.
Yeah, probably. Does a team like Edmonton, who's so desperate in need of defensive play to balance their forward play, can they make a play for Seth Jones?
I don't think they can because of their contract situations.
Yeah.
I don't know how much space that they have.
Yeah, not a lot of teams do. Yeah.
They are a very top-heavy team, unfortunately, which hurts them.
I actually think Chicago can pull this off.
And
I got to take a look at
Benny's Nation saying that Benny's Nation is saying somehow Pittsburgh will land him. So we are half right. He landed in Pennsylvania. He landed on the other side of Pennsylvania. If it goes down the way Benny's believe.
So, all right. So let's break this down here real quick. I'm looking at
What's up, Tommy?
Seth Jones has 1 year left on his contract, and it's a cap hit of 5.4. Right now, the Chicago Blackhawks have $10 million in cap space. I think any of these teams that are right on the verge of being a playoff contender could land Seth Jones, like a team like Chicago, who's right on the verge. Boston might be able to, depending on how free agency goes. And
those were one of the two candidates that Bryce brought up. He also said Vegas. Vegas would, of course, have to make a trade that would require taking one big contract and putting it over to Columbus to take on the contract of Seth Jones.
Edmonton could potentially sign him. They have 11 projected. And what was the other team? Boston?
Yeah, Boston was the other candidate that Bryce brought up.
Yeah, it would have to be a straight-up trade for some of these teams, especially a team like Vegas.
Yeah.
What? How does the Boston Bruins have $25 million in projected cap space? Taylor Hall's a free agent. David Krejci's a free agent.
Ooh.
Nick Ritchie's a free agent. Andrew Kosh is a free agent.
That explains a lot. That explains a lot.
Mike Riley's a free agent. Jared Tenorti's a free agent. Tuukka Rask is a free agent.
I think Carlo
is a free agent. All right, so the entire team is a free. They're gonna have to re-sign an entire team.
Okay, so Boston's gonna have themselves a very busy off season.
I got to
cap, Tommy, is going to be tight.
Rob, what were you gonna say?
I got a real cool suggestion for you. What about, and you see this in hockey a lot, what team did he come up with?
Seth Jones?
What about a return to Nashville? They got 22 on their almost 23 million projected cap space. A lot freed up after the retirement of Pekka Rinne.
Interesting. Well, I mean, they're starting to sell off pieces. I'm not going to rule them out.
Right.
But with them probably retooling, they're probably not going to be where you want them to be.
Sure.
As far as competition goes and being a playoff, I think they got lucky this year and wound up as a playoff team. Tommy, Flyers have 13 mil, and they have a couple guys they need to re-sign.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, priority one with the bullet is Carter Hart. Jesse saying, damn, Boston got them lightning decisions to make. Boston might want to go younger.
Well, they're probably not going to re-sign Tuukka Rask. I'd be surprised if they do. They would probably. I feel like they want to go Swayman because he played pretty well for Boston.
Yeah.
And then to who was it? Benny's point, Kevin Millar just retired too. So, or Kevin Miller. Sorry, I do that all the time. It's Kevin Miller, not Millar. But yeah, I mean, it depends on priorities of some of these teams. I mean, I could definitely see Nashville. Definitely see Chicago. Could see Edmonton.
He's Prism's also saying Dallas and Florida are in the mix apparently.
Dallas could. They got Alexiak off the books. Florida might. I think Florida's pretty set on defensemen right now. I don't see Florida making too many changes to their roster. I think their biggest one, your biggest change you're going to see is going to be in-house, and that's going to be Spencer Knight starting over Bobrovsky.
And yeah, so Bryce also brought up New Jersey, who have
but New Jersey's rebuilding.
Yeah,
New Jersey's rebuilding, and they just got Ryan Graves too, so that might take him out of the running for Seth Jones.
Yeah, and Detroit has $48 million, and also yes,
Detroit,
Florida
maybe
did buy out Yandel.
I was gonna say, I mean, any of these teams that are buying out defensemen, Chicago, pulling out Duncan Keith, Florida, pulling out Keith Yandel, they could be in the, these are preemptive moves to land a Seth Jones. Sure.
I have to look at. I'm going to look up Minnesota's. Minnesota could wind up being a spot now. True. Put Seth Jones and Matt Dumba on a line together, on a pairing together. I think would be pretty good.
Jesse's also saying he thinks that he'll land on the Rangers.
That would be a total NHL move. That Seth Jones winds up with the Rangers. Minnesota Wild have $26 million available. Let me run down the roster real quick and see who they have to resign.
Prism, you pronounce Chicago as Nashville.
That's pretty funny.
I was just trying to think out of the box, man. I love those stories where the guy that gets drafted by the team comes back to the team. We've seen that a time or two here in Philadelphia.
What's Carolina's cap space? Is that tapped out?
I think Minnesota might be that team.
Minnesota?
I think Minnesota's in a really good spot. They're losing Ian Cole and Brad Hunt to free agency, so that opens up 2 spots. And then you have Jared Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin, Matt Dumba, and Carson Soucy as your starters.
Hurricanes have almost $30 million in cap space.
Interesting. So there are definitely options out there. I mean, Jones, it seems like a lot of teams that are either right there or teams that are going to be in the playoff hunt, they have the ability. So it's interesting. Jones got a very interesting situation. So the floodgates will open with all of this now that Philly's pretty much out of the running for Seth Jones.
They were the front runners for a while.
They were, which, honestly, I'm kind of happy it didn't work out. And I'm going to say this because anytime the Flyers make a big blockbuster thing, it bites us in the ass every fucking time. So you know what? If we had signed Seth Jones, he would have suffered a career-ending fucking knee injury or something, and we would have gotten 1 year out of him. So it's like, you know what? Fine. I don't want Seth Jones because bad luck follows our big blockbuster free agency signings. I'm perfectly fine with not getting Seth Jones at this point because it would have ended badly for us probably.
Benny, they could. I don't see it, especially after the playoffs he just had. I mean, I see all these teams. We're listing teams off here, and a lot of teams have a lot of cap space right now because nobody's been re-signed. I mean, teams are starting to. But some of these rebuilding teams I could definitely see. We could even potentially throw Buffalo into the mix here. Because they do have a solid defense and they have plenty of money. But the problem with that is Buffalo's main issue is offense. They don't score enough. And they're putting one of their biggest I guess we can say biggest names, Jeff Skinner. They're leaving him unprotected and hoping they get taken in the draft. So, I mean, we'll see. Depends on team priorities.
Yeah, Ted saying. By the way, what's up, Ted? Saying I've made a 360 on this expansion draft. Hopefully they take Jake or JVR, and Vegas getting Fleury stopped Pittsburgh from winning 3 cups in a row. I think it was also the combination of Fleury and the fact that the Capitals finally decided they wanted to beat Pittsburgh. They finally decided to actually win a series that they were supposed to win. Let's see here.
Montreal could be another spot. I didn't even think about that. Amelia just reminded me.
Shea
With the Shea
Weber
Weber
LTIR,
situation.
yeah. So you know Montreal is hot and heavy on the phone with Columbus.
How I never mind. Never
Do you
mind.
think?
I got two deals mixed up.
Oh, do you think that they put one of those like French escorts, like those French Canadian escorts on the phone to kind of soothe Seth Jones out of Columbus and bring him to Montreal?
I know I would.
I mean,
be there.
That's one advantage that, you know, Montreal has over everyone. So,
and I feel Priz would be fine with that too, because that way Seth Jones goes to one of his two teams.
Yeah.
Either way, Priz wins.
Yeah, definitely. Frank, I heard French Canadians. All right.
They party in Montreal. I tell you that much.
They did. They were. I mean, hell, they didn't even win the cup, and they still partied. But you know what? I think I understand why. God knows when they'll make it back. So, Bryce. By the way, Bryce, I forgot. Happy birthday. And I thought when people were saying Happy B-Day, Bryce, I didn't realize they meant Bryce Blackwell. I thought they were talking Bryce Harper. So, well.
Why would I be wishing Bryce Harper a happy birthday?
Because you're a Phillies fan.
He's not watching the show.
Doesn't matter. You're a Phillies fan. So, but anyway.
Come on, man. Bryce Blackwell.
Bryce, happy birthday, brother. Ted, anyway, will you guys be live July 23rd during the expansion draft? Maybe some free agency trade stuff, too. I don't think I actually would be able to on the 23rd, honestly. Plus, also, I think that's a Wednesday, and I do believe that we have the big fixed AM and the PM thing going off, right? So,
the expansion draft's Wednesday the 21st. That's probably what he meant. You know what I mean? But unless he's talking, the NHL draft is still a week after that. It wouldn't be later that week. No, there's no way. But either way. To answer your question, though, Ted, we will be on the next day after on a normal spot Thursday. There might be a change in the future, hint, hint, wink, wink, to an earlier time slot on another day, but we'll leave that for another discussion for another day. But in terms of the trade talk for free agency, we're going to be covering that immensely here. Like I alluded to earlier on the show, we're going to have Nick Rodriguez, NHL reporter, NHL journalist for Elite Fantasy, on with us here talking trades. This dude's always spot on about picking where targets will land. That's going to be some good talk. So definitely stick with us, Teddy.
Yeah, for sure. Hit that subscribe button, man, and hit those notifications.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jesse's saying walking around Montreal not being able to speak French will get you the Antichrist treatment.
Hang on, let's back up. I had to walk away for a second. We started talking about French Canadians, and out of nowhere, Vespi pops up.
Well, I apparently he said I legit jumped in and I heard him. So I don't know.
Said it, and his ears went doing. And he's like, "Oh, I gotta jump on." It's like Joe Thornton. When we talk about Joe Thornton, he pops up out of nowhere too.
But anyway, all right. So after the Seth Jones stuff, obviously a couple of main trades that happened. We talked about Keith Yandle being bought out by Florida. Obviously, Graves going to the New Jersey Devils. And in return, the New Jersey Devils got Maltsev, and I forget what they got a pick out of that too, I believe, right?
Second round pick this year.
All right, then. So that's an interesting deal. I mean, it will be good for the Devils because Graves has that sort of, he's kind of got a little bit of his dad's mentality, right? Yeah.
He's gritty. He's a gritty physical player. I'm a fan of his. I think he's going to help the Devils out immensely, especially on that back end. They need to solidify that badly if they want to take that next step forward. They're getting closer with each day, in my opinion. You know, I think they're getting the goaltending figured out with Blackwell or Blackwood. Sorry, I got freaking Bryce on my mind for some reason. So you got Blackwood in that, right? So you got Blackwood in that, solidify that defense up a little bit, maybe bring in another vet or two. Got Devils have another high draft pick, so the Devils should compete a little in another year or two. Should. Will they? We'll see, but they should.
It's a move that's going to piss off a lot of Rangers fans, especially older Ranger fans, seeing Graves in a red sweater instead of a blue shirt.
Especially,
but you got to know he's going to do well playing in the tri-state area, though. You know what I mean? Growing up around it, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. He already knows what to expect. He knows the atmosphere that the Devils have, and I mean, it really is a good move for the Devils moving forward because, like I said before, really helps solidify some of that back end. You know that they really struggled last year.
Yeah, just saying Rangers scare me the most. Ted saying, do you guys think that they will sign Sutter? Is it true that Parise went to the Islanders? Haven't heard anything about
no to the
Parise
part because he can't sign anywhere yet. I don't even think he can even talk to anybody yet. I think the league has something about tampering free agents, so they can't talk to anybody until what is it, the 28th that free agency opens up?
I believe so.
Could he wind up in the Islanders? Yeah. I do think the Flyers would be smart to be in on Ryan Sutter.
Would be interesting. So that's pretty much the main things that happened, I believe, around the NHL, unless there's something that I missed. Was there anything else that came up during this particular week?
I alluded to Pekka Rinne retiring before. You know, I know everybody knows this well by now, but I do want to give a little homage to a dude that really put hockey on the map in Nashville, turned it, for better or for worse, whether you hated it, the obnoxiousness, whatever, it became Smashville. And you saw that in, what was that, 2016-17, making that run in the playoffs. You know, basically his period of time from 2014 to 2018, talking about two-time Vezina Trophy finalist, finally winning the trophy there in 17-18. It's a remarkable career. You look at some of his achievements and, you know, how many times he's led the league in saves and save percentage and whatnot. Just a phenomenal 15-year career. You know, and a guy going out on his own terms, you know what I mean? It's definitely we wanted to pay tribute to him on our Hockey Happy Hour page there on Facebook, and hopefully we did. You know, he was one of the good ones.
He was. Shame he never won one. Ted, we'll find out on the, I believe, the 19th. They will announce the who's been protected, who hasn't been.
Yeah, I believe that is the deadline for all the teams.
And you'll get the official list.
No, it'll be a Saturday, I think. I think it's a Saturday they have to be submitted. I don't know if that means that they're going to announce it. Maybe they won't announce it till that Monday, but at least they're due by Saturday.
Oh, okay.
What day's the 18th? Is that the Saturday?
No, 17th, and then you got the 19th is the Monday.
Okay, I think they'll usually announce who's going to be protected, and it's usually like a day or two before the actual draft. But I mean, they won't officially announce it until at least then, because teams are still figuring it out.
Yeah, just saying, just throwing out his protected list on that one: Giroux, Hayes, Couturier, Lawton, Konechny, Lindblom, Patrick, Dougie Hamilton,
I love it. Make it happen. Make it happen, John. Make it happen.
I'm just going to run through some other news here real quick from Complete Hockey News. That's usually where I get all my info. They're great over there, so you can give them a follow on Facebook if you don't already. Dallas Stars and Ben Bishop have agreed to waive his no-trade clause to be left unprotected.
Okay.
Florida Panthers have re-signed Anthony Duclair to a 3-year, $9 million contract extension. We already touched on Shea Weber. New Jersey Devils have re-signed forward Michael McLeod to a 2-year, $1.95 million contract extension.
What is the injury with Weber? Because all I heard was the issue. I didn't have time to read up on that.
So, according to Darren Dredger, Shea Weber's, and this is a tweet from him from earlier this afternoon. What's today? Today's the 15th? So it might have been earlier this afternoon.
Gotcha.
From Darren Dredger, Shea Weber's body is beaten up. Is it possible he might play again? Possible, but leaning towards unlikely. The NHL isn't commenting, however, based on history of other players, granted LTI, if the NHL's hard line doesn't soften, in this case will likely end in a dispute with the Players Association.
Wow.
Interesting.
So basically he's going on the shelf for complete body failure.
Yep.
Shutting down. Melting down.
So one of the Florida Panthers' better defensemen have they re-signed to a 3-year, $8 million contract, and that was Gustav Forsling. I thought he came off a pretty solid year. One of the more lower tier guys on the defensive pairings, but still had a pretty solid year this year. Colorado Avalanche will not be offering Pierre-Edouard Bellemare a new contract, so he'll touch free agency. And Zach Hyman looks like he will not be back with the Toronto Maple Leafs, as they have granted the forward permission to seek other clubs prior to free agency.
Interesting. And for answer, Ted, unofficially, officially, I think we can put that into that category for Weber retire.
This is what it looks like. It looks like he. I mean, the source is pretty trustworthy in Darren Dredger.
Shame they couldn't get him a cup, man. They're right there, too. That's a sad story, you know what I mean? Maybe that broke his heart. That's what he's just broken. Some guys come that close to sipping from the cup, they never recover.
Yeah. But, hey, you know what, though? Weber had a really good career. He had a great run with Nashville and almost came to Philly, but stayed in Nashville. And then he eventually finds himself into Montreal. And, you know, Weber, he's a good player, man. He was a great player. He's the kind of guy that was a heart and soul kind of guy, you know. There's nothing to really regret on his career. Yeah, he didn't win the cup, but you know what, man? He's the kind of player that you want on your team, especially on your back end, on the defensive side of the puck, because he's the guy who's going to be the leader of that core, and he's going to get your guys he's going to get that defensive unit perfect and in order, and that's the kind of guy you need on your team.
Yeah, he's a leader. He's a voice. He's a guy that has a lot of respect, not just from other players around the league, but fans, officials, all over the place. There's not many people have a bad thing to say about Shea Weber. And, you know, as you can see from a lot of the people that are just chiming in now here, Prism saying that Weber's a warrior, Phantom 67 saying lots of respect for Weber, Bryce saying love Weber. Like, it's hard not to like Shea Weber. So it's a shame that he's going out like this. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he feels well enough that he might be able to walk back or come back. But this is just not the way you want to see a guy like Shea Weber go out.
And to answer that question, Ted, no, I'm not thinking Landeskog leaves the Avalanche.
I mean, they're kind of in a rocky territory, no pun intended. But I think they figure it out. They get a deal done, and Gabriel Landeskog remains in Colorado. I'd be very surprised if he goes anywhere else. Anaheim. Oh, man, a tickle in my throat was bad.
Them allergies, man. I know you had to go off the stream a couple times on them. They're a bitch.
Dude, as soon as I put the jersey on. As soon as I take it off.
Is that a harbinger of things to come? Hopefully not, right?
No, it's because it's been sitting in my dusty-ass closet.
Maddie, you busted out the $10 million words all night long. I freaking love it. Those classes are doing you well.
Oh,
I'm not being facetious either, man. You've been dropping the excellent vocab. I'm qualified to say such things.
Thank you.
I'm not.
Don't sell yourself short. You're a tremendous slouch. What movie is that from?
I don't think I know
All
that
right.
one.
So with that,
Not like the first one with Goonies.
You got it. Nice.
I had it as soon as I read it. I just didn't want to. I don't want to ruin the game for anybody.
all right, guys. So let's finish it up. Let's do a quick round of it. So we're going to be doing this a couple more times. When we have a little bit more time, we'll do a few more rounds of it. But today we'll just keep it at one, kind of give you guys a bit of a teaser. We've been talking about doing a movie quote game where we basically challenge each other to name the movie that we got it from. And that's based off of the fact that Rob will open the show usually with movie quotes and will usually say, name that movie. So through that inspiration, that is our challenge. And we'll be doing this a few times during the off season. So we'll begin with a 1-round challenge, and then we'll have some more as we go along, more time at the end of the show. So, Robbie, since this was your inspiration, I think it only fitting that you kick off this run in this round, and you challenge me and Dales to name the movie.
All right. Well, I already said one that could give you some time to think already. By the way, that other one about a tremendous slouch, Caddyshack. Greatest movie, one of the greatest movies of all time. But I'm going to give you one that I think you boys will get. I'm pretty sure Maddie will get it, and you both probably, it'll depend on probably who buzzes in the quickest. But let's see if I can get it right, straight off the top of my head.
Sure.
Choose, but choose wisely. For the Holy Grail will give you life. The wrong Grail will take it from you.
Ding.
Indiana Jones.
You didn't ding.
I did throw this up, though.
I will give it to Dales. I heard the ding and
all
the
right.
Split second.
I'm just happy I knew that. So, Dales does win the round.
Layup. That was a layup for you. They're going to get much, much harder in weeks to come. And this will be good because not only is there lower activity, obviously, during the season, but we want to do some more, outside the realm of hockey. Make this show engaging for all audiences. Maybe you want to come in, you're a movie buff, you want to slide on in for the latter, half or latter third of the show. Play a little movie trivia, play some drinking games. This is happy hour after all, people. Maybe we can come to you closer to happy hour times.
Yeah, Maddie's just going to cheat like he just did and just stole an answer right from me.
I didn't steal it. I didn't steal it, though, because it still was awarded to you per Rob's judgment there, so you still got the point, even if I named it.
I still didn't hear the full name of the movie.
In the Last Crusade.
I will give Brian the opportunity to say the full
In the Last Crusade.
Name. There you go.
So there we have it. We got it. All right.
That's for you, Maddie.
You both know it. I love it. These are my partners in crime. All right. Now I want to guess some because this is where I'm going to fall flat on my face. I know the quotes, but I never know where they come from.
All right, then. Brian, you want to go or do you want me to go?
You go. I didn't have any prepared. I didn't know how we were doing this.
All right, then. So Brian will have some prepared next time we do this. So this will be the last one for the day.
You can think of one.
I could probably think of one.
You can think of one.
But I'm thinking.
So while you think, I'll throw out mine.
Go for it.
All right, here we go. I'd buy that for $1. Name it.
Crap.
Oh my God, I know this movie too. This is what I'm talking about. Too many burnt brain cells. Bam, chime in too. Be on the lookout for the comments. They might beat us to it.
Oh crap! I know this one.
Is it Bad News Bears? No.
No.
Bad Santa.
No.
Nope.
I know I went total spectrum there.
Two completely different Billy Bob Thornton movies too.
Yeah. I didn't put that tie together.
Yeah, Jesse and David Wright. It's RoboCop.
Yep, correct. It was RoboCop.
Damn it!
So,
no. I
David.
Further.
Yeah, David, Jesse, congratulations. You got that one.
David got it first, though. Not by much, but he got it first. Jesse was
Tell
like
them what they
right behind
win.
him.
You guys, well, Jesse, you know, he's an A2D member. He gets to come on the show. Dave, you get a compliment. Thank you.
That's where you're supposed to quote another movie by Weird Al Yankovic and UHF. Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
I could have gone that route, but I feel like that's become such a meme nowadays. All right.
Too much.
So here, real quick, let me just address that with Ted. Lane, I'm not sure where Lane's going to go. I know he's basically flat out said he really does not like Columbus. He said it he said it in a lot of words. He ultimately said, I didn't like it.
These fucking pussies, man. Play. You're paid to play a game. Who cares what city? Let's go. Come on, man. You didn't like Winnipeg. Now he doesn't want Columbus. Yeah. Oh, my God. Man, and I wanted Lane bad, too. What was I thinking?
Oh, that's pretty funny, Ted.
I got swept up with Brodo. That's what it was. Brodo wanted him so bad, and I was like, Brodo's got to be right. Yeah, I want him too. Look, see? Even my webcam was agreeing.
It sounded exactly like Noah. That's really funny that he says that, because I think the same thing, too, whenever I'm watching that. I'm like, is Noah ever really falling asleep on that show?
I think it was just that one time, right?
I love Noah. I do. And Noah brings some good facts to the table. But sometimes I'm watching him like I'm watching him waiting for him to fall asleep.
He's got a young one, man. I'll never poke fun at you know what I mean. Then again, so does Tom too. You know what I mean? But he drinks too many energy drinks to fall asleep on air. No doubt about it. Tommy, if you're still with us, I know you'll agree.
I'm not trying to bash Noah either. I just think it's funny.
I know
it's like I said, I love Noah.
You're not the type of guy that bashes anybody, dude.
No, I try not to. I'll poke a little bit of fun, but I'm not going to bash you.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
So real quick for my movie quote, it should be pretty easy. All right. Do you boys like Mexico?
Hold on.
Actually, I don't know if Maddie will get that one. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Robbie, you definitely should.
I know. It's Super Troopers.
Bingo.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Oh, yeah.
Yes! I remembered one. Holy shit.
You know, honestly, I only seen the movie once. So sometimes
when I saw your reaction, I'm like, Maddie doesn't know this one.
See, I know other parts. Like I remember, you know, when he has the German dude's car and he's riding down the road like 1,000,000 miles an hour in a fucking wig. I was crying laughing at that part. But
the entire movie's funny. Like when they get locked in the back of the soap truck, and then they're getting ready to open it up again. You have Max sitting there saying, "What does he say?" Max like, and that was the second time I got crabs.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, and they had Jesse's like forgot the movie, but the guy has a mullet.
It's when he's playing the like he's like, you boys like Mexico. He's got the wig on because he's playing the criminal that they're chasing and shit. Steve Bundy, man. Yep. I just saw an ad for Tacoma FD before we went on the air too.
That show's really, really good too.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I would definitely suggest seeing Super Troopers too. Once you get through the intro, it's a very, very funny movie.
Agreed.
Not as good as the first, but it's still pretty good.
Gotcha.
And it's got one of my heartthrobs of all time, Emmanuel Chiriquai. Yes. Sloane from Entourage. Yes.
Oh yeah. She's in the second one for sure.
Yes. Talk about French Canadian. Yes. See?
Yeah.
We.
It all comes full circle.
And she's a French Canadian.
So that's pretty much a preview of what we will be bringing. We'll be doing this off and on throughout the off season. When we got some time, we'll be challenging each other with some movie quotes. And we'll be having fun on that one. So, hey, and you guys, you're always welcome to join in like Dave did and like Jesse did when they got mine. You guys can always chime in and throw it out there. So, Ted saying already wants to play in warm weather. That's what he says about Patrick Laine.
We'll take him in Anaheim.
Anaheim? Okay.
I'll take him.
Prism saying, when the next time I can call in, I'd make a list of prediction and questions and keep it until the end of the year. Oh, okay then. Interesting. And Prism saying, Super Trooper people have a pretty funny show about being firemen.
Yeah, Tacoma FD, man. FD. And talking about hot girls, man. Hassie Harrison, oh my gosh.
Oh, she's another one.
Oh. All right.
Hey, Don, that's for you, buddy.
She's a cowgirl, too, from out in Montana, too.
That's
Follow
for you,
her
buddy.
on Instagram. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
All right, guys.
You put down, good for you.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we thank you all for joining us, fam. We love you. We will finish off this one from Ted and his comment. This is the most important offseason for the Flyers. Coots and G can walk if we have another terrible season. They don't have forever to win a cup, especially G. And on that, we will leave it. Yep. And on that, we will leave it as the gauntlet has been laid at the feet of one Chuck Fletcher. We know the Seth Jones situation didn't work out, but there are other opportunities laying in the wait. So, Fletcher, like it has been since the offseason began for the Flyers, the ball is still in your court. Let's see what he does with it. On that note, guys, we thank you so much for joining us for another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. I am Matt Sinsuni, along with the Darkwing Brian Daly. And the broken one, Mr. Rob Povia.
Sure, you have a pet spayed or neutered.
And we want to thank our show.
Price is right.
And we want to say thank you to our sponsor, Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, you can make an appointment at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Bry did, and his shoulder has been phenomenal since.
It's gotten better.
And we also, if you're looking to buy or sell a home or looking for a change in career or brokerage, Alan Foy at eXp Realty LLC, 302-682-8820. On the web, alan.foy at exprealty.com. And as well as always, Manscaped, get that 20% off to get those tools. As what do you call it, Bri?
You got to get rid of the junk funk.
That's right. And Manscaped's got the tools to do it. 20% off on A2D promo code right there.
Get that lawnmower 4. Get that ball deodorant. Get the crop cleanser, crop toner. Get it all, man. You can't let your lady smell your junk funk. That just turns them away from, just taking care of the man after a long day. Get it all cleaned up. Get rid of that junk funk. And have a good night with your lady.
Yeah. And all campus, giving 20% off everything in the store, including hats, shirts, and their team cornhole sets as well to all subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, there's a reason to. All campus OC, they've got all the stuff that you want for your favorite sports teams. Give them a shout out. John Coyle, he's the man, and he leads the way with that. It's awesome. And if you have anybody who's struggling with mental illness, addiction issues, Counseling Center Sunrise Detox, 856-651-8117. Do not waste time on that. That is a very serious issue. Give them a call. Get the help that you or that loved one needs. Do not waste time with it. And then finally, if you want to support the show and you want to support the station, Bri, where can they go to?
You can head on over to PhillyDrinkers.com. That's Philly Drinkers LLC. Go get all kinds of HUD merch there, all kinds of T-shirts, hats, stickers, mugs, socks. Yes, socks, blankets. Alex does a great job over there, making sure he's got all kinds of crazy stuff for us and for you guys. Tumblers, they got board shorts, I believe, for the season. All kinds of great stuff. That's Philly Drinkers LLC. That's PhillyDrinkers.com.
All right, and Body Check Wellness, as well as our show sponsor, A2D, for the 20% off. And when, of course, Riley Cote's on with us, 40% off for Focus and Clarity. Those are the products you want to go to.
And Maddie, it's been brought to my attention that they don't only offer products for us humans, for your pet, for your loved one, for your dogs. They have CBD infused dog treats. Matter of fact, right now you can buy one, get one free, 30 count, 5 milligram CBD treats. Good for keeping your pets chill in the summer. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Hey, listen, it's not just your life that can improve. It's also man's best friend, your best buddy. You can have his life improved as well. All righty. We thank you all for joining us. Stay safe out there, everyone. And guys, listen, we got a fun season ahead of us. The expansion draft will be gone and has happened after we come on next week. We'll see who the Flyers are going to say goodbye to, and we'll see who the rest of the NHL is saying goodbye to head over to Seattle. So we'll see you guys then. Peace and love, everyone. Take it easy.
Love you guys.